Hey, Little Blue Bar is on to say we're live on Saturday, the 2nd of March. We're already in March 2019. Hi, chat room. Hi, Josh. Hi, Mike. Flat Earth Brothers.
Hello,
What's
everybody.
doing?
Hey. Very nice of you to join. I was just saying, Patricia was there a second ago, but I think she's got internet problems. So she'll be back in a minute. And I just said to Josh when he came on, he's the third Josh this week, and we've got one more tomorrow.
Yep, we're currently trending.
Josh in Thinking Kid 10. We had Josh X last night, obviously you, Josh. And we've got Josh Stone tomorrow. It's like, what's happening? Are you all called Josh? No, you're called Mike. But is Josh a very popular name in America?
Yeah, when I was in school, I guess people around my age group in their mid-30s were named Josh. So I would be in class, and that would be teacher calling roll, and you'd always have 2 or 3 Joshes per class. And so when, one of us would be Joshua, and then the other would be Josh, and then or there'd be 2 Joshes, and it was like sort of the funny thing.
If it's any consolation, I'm called Karen, which you might think, well, that's not a very common name. But in the UK in the 60s, it was. That's how you know the age of the people. Sharon, Karen, these names very, very, very popular in Carol is another one. Very popular in the 60s.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Tom, my eldest son's called Thomas. That's quite a popular name. But anyway, it's really good that we've got you both on together. And I'm a bit gobsmacked how similar your voices are. Do you actually look very alike as well?
Oh yeah, we're most people think we're identical when they first meet us. And what's funny is that we've been working at the same school together for probably 5 years now, 6 years, and we're right across the hall from each other. And kids, even last week are seeing me and him in the same hallway and saying, "Oh my God, there's 2 of them," because they don't know just by looking at us which one's which. They're like, "I just thought you were the same person," and we're constantly. I'm always
weird?
talking to his people, thinking
they're weird when there's someone that looks almost the same as you.
Yeah, it's really awkward when we show up and we're dressed the same and like we're walking the same. Like we always walk around a corner, sometimes in the morning, and I'll look up and he's wearing the same clothes and he's carrying a bag in his right hand and I'm carrying one in my left hand. So it's like we're looking into a mirror. I'm like, this is freaky. We do stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, because I've noticed my children have mannerisms like Ellie is partly like her dad and me, or my mum. There's my mum. Suddenly they're doing things. But it must be really weird looking at someone and going, "Oh, look, there's me."
Yeah, and he'll tell the same joke as me, and then somebody will come to me and tell me something, and I'll tell them the same exact joke, word for word. And it's like a joke that I made up, not like a joke that I've rehearsed, like one that I just made up on the spot. And I'm like, that happens almost on a daily basis. If somebody talks to him first and then me, we usually have the same little response.
But you're actually quite good friends with each other, aren't you? And like Flat Earth is just perfect for both of you.
It was funny.
Teacher, isn't it? One's a chemistry teacher and one's I can't remember what the other teacher is.
I teach math, and he's into the whole science thing, and I thought it was kind of funny that he brought me into this whole flat Earth thing, and had it been anyone else, I don't think I would have really gave it a second thought. But our relationship kind of helped me at least look into it, and he was coming to me with all these. We had both for a long time studied evolution and how that there were a lot of hoaxes and a lot of deception. And a lot of people aren't comfortable going into conspiracies, especially when you look at like, oh, you're saying that all these evolutionary, these fossil records, they're all being faked and they're being lied about. A lot of people aren't comfortable with that. And I was always kind of a skeptic, when it came to questioning big events and, the moon landings or 9/11 or, the JFK assassination. I was always skeptical of certain of the official stories. And when Josh came to me one day, he's like, you're not going to believe this. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, the earth is flat. And I mean, my gut reaction was like, you're an idiot.
By the way, sorry to interrupt you. I'm glad you did that because you're Mike and the other icon is Josh, because I didn't say which one was which, did I? Just introduced you. So I'm glad people know that you're Mike and you're our brothers, Josh. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, and and this is my name's Michael, everybody, and I am Josh and I share the Flat Earth Brothers channel, but we have a separate channel, Grace and Truth Fellowship, and that's the channel that's ran primarily by me, but we also share, videos on that channel. That's our Grace and Truth Fellowship is our biblical based channel, more than it kind of goes away from Flat Earth. And we've been adding some biblical Earth stuff to that channel. Our most recent was the creation cover up, and then that's more of a creationist approach to the flat Earth. But and I think when somebody presents this to you, the flat Earth, it's important that you have a really close relationship and you trust that person. Otherwise, you're going to think they're just some crazy, fool. And had anyone else told it to me, I would have never even thought it's even remotely possible. But within a few days, I was just, I started looking at the numbers. Being a math teacher, I started looking at evidence and thinking, surely to God, this is just some YouTube, mistake. But the further you look into it, the more and more, it's kind of like believing in Santa Claus. Once you don't believe in Santa Claus anymore, it's hard to go back,
Once you wake up, you just can't go back. You cannot go back to that stuff and pretend. I tried yesterday, everybody. I had to go and take my car to be MOT'd, and I was in the garage, and there was this nice young man sitting there, and I thought, let's say something. He kept going, that's your opinion. That's all he'd say. That's your opinion. I believe in the globe. And then I'd only said a few things, and then he walked off and sat somewhere else. So see, this is why I'm not a flat smacker, but I tried, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's your opinion. He was going, that's your opinion. I said, but you've only known this since you went to school. I was being really nice as well.
Yeah.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, I've seen some heated people. I have students that one day at random, and I didn't bring this conversation up, but I have a student in my last class who is a flat earther, and he comes in and he was talking about it at the back table, and I didn't even catch him start the conversation, but I hear a girl scream out, "It's not flat, it's a round." And she goes, "Haven't you ever seen a globe?" And she was like getting heated, and she's like, "I am so mad." So I had to like calm her down, and I said, listen, calm down. Science is all about being, sharing knowledge and asking questions. And I said, just calm down. And she's like, "But I'm so mad, Coach Keefe. I can't believe he's saying this. We've got all these pictures." And so I was like, once I got them calmed down a little, they were like, "Can we please have a debate about this?" And I was like, that would be the most fun I would ever have as a teacher. But I know that I would wake up so many kids that it would cause an uproar if I actually contributed just a tad.
What? You could start a new school, you two.
Yeah. That'd be great to start a creation-based flat Earth school. That would be pretty neat.
Yeah, just a creation and exposing lies and just having kids kids knowing love. There's things they aren't taught in school about love and forgiveness, and a lot of the problems we have stem from that. And then they're force-fed all this music and garbage that really just, you can watch a change in their mannerisms as they go from cute little sweet freshmen, or even sixth graders. Sixth graders are being exposed to this stuff, and they just change, and they listen to this music, and it really changes who they are and how they see themselves, especially when you combine social media and all the people photoshopping themselves and showing the best part of themselves to the world. They think they have to be like that. And there's just a lot of sadness and heartache that wouldn't happen if they were just taught truth and about how much love there is for them. They don't see it. And it's heartbreaking to watch.
What a nice man. You mentioned that word love. That's a lot of people they just can't mention that word love, can they?
Yeah, and they're forced to repeat things. Like right now, they're studying in overtime to repeat some really important paragraphs from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. And these kids are stressed over that. They're working so hard to remember every word, and they have to go and be orally tested where they speak. And if they miss one word, it does not count. They have to start over or get the grade that they've gotten for that. So it's strange to me that we can force them to repeat words from a text of a book that has to do with young love, and when it doesn't work out, you kill yourself. And they're forced to read those texts as if there's some greater meaning out of that they're going to get out of life or some great purpose. And it's so important that it's in our standards, but we can't teach them love and have them memorize scriptures from the Bible. It's it's so backwards how we do that.
Yes, well, we're a strange society now, and quite a narcissistic one, aren't we?
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And children, you know, I don't, in a sense, it's not the school's responsibility, not really, but so many families are being broken up and the children spend so long there. I wish schools would teach the children this. It has to be the schools. It's the one place all the children are for hours, and they could have a lesson on how to be nice to people, how to respect people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what anyway. And it's not about that, is it, anymore? It's about figures. And, you know, I bet you even you as teachers, it's quite hard work now, isn't it? And I've worked around teachers, and everybody just thinks, oh, look, they've got holidays. They usually they're there till 6, 7 at night looking at stuff, planning their next day. And then they've usually got loads of homework. It's quite hard work being a teacher.
Yeah, it's a lot more than I ever imagined. It's the planning of lessons and the work you're doing, grading papers, and the things you're doing outside of school. And especially with us being coaches, I mean, we go to work at 7 in the morning and we don't leave until 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night a lot of times. And it's a really daunting task, you know, to be engaging the children each and every day and to keep them actually just well behaved.
Yes, I imagine. And you know, I just feel so sorry. I mean, we've all gone through it, but you know, like, imagine that little kid starting school now and all he's got is a teacher with their back to them writing on a blackboard, and they're just told to write it down and sit all day just writing and writing and writing. And the teacher, all they're doing is, oh, shut up talking. You know, that's it. Writing on a blackboard. It's not very exciting, is it? I realise if you don't grasp boys at a young age and get them interested, that's it. They're done, even at a young age, because if they're not interested, they won't do anything.
Oh, no. Yeah, and I have the awkward problem of trying to get people excited about math, which nobody seems to really care much about. And the funny thing was, I was a terrible student in math because I had bad teachers.
I think if you're into that, mathematical person, and you love numbers, it's different. But otherwise, those that don't, it's hard work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I have an advantage. I failed Algebra 1 in high school, and I wasn't a good student, and I didn't become good at math until college when I actually realized if you work at it, you can do it. And I think that helps because a lot of my math teachers were just really good at math, and they didn't understand how we didn't get it. And it helps you kind of break it down, and you can take something really complex or that appears complex and just make it simple where anyone can understand it. I think that's kind of a gift.
I think what it was is I noticed when my children were growing up, my Ellie's dad was obviously with me then, and he was saying about the boys' homework. He was saying, what they're doing now, I was doing 2 or 3 years older. So basically, children today do more work than we used to do.
Yeah, they're learning to cite sources in kindergarten. They're learning things that I didn't learn until college when they're like kindergarten around here. I mean, it is crazy how much we're throwing at these little kids. And when I was working on my master's, my son, who was in 2nd grade at the time, 2nd or 3rd, my stepson was really working on homework every day. You know, he'd come home and it was a few minutes to like eat and relax. And then it was homework, shower, into bed. And there was no time to play and relax. And he would just get so stressed. He would just cry. He was doing more homework than me in my master's program. And I was like, I just can't stand to see this. These little kids are in school for so many hours per day. They need to come home and relax, you know, and play. And one of the top
schools. You know what that's about, isn't it? It's not that it's set up on purpose like that, just to start them off with little slaves from the beginning. Can I just ask then, Mike and Josh, what are the ages of the children you see?
Usually 15 to about 18, within that range.
Yeah, that's typical.
That's both of you.
Yeah, 9 to 12, ninth grade. I teach 9th and 11th grade.
Can I just say something? There's a tiny bit of feedback coming through. Would I don't know which one of you it is. When we're talking, I can just hear it. But it's gone now. Sometimes if you just turn the volume down on your speakers or something, that usually just anyway, it's gone now. Right. So have you noticing the children changing at all, or do you think they're getting worse? How long have you been teachers?
About 10 years, and definitely a change in their language, how they speak to adults, how they interact with each other.
They've lost all respect, haven't they? They've got no
Mhm.
respect anymore. They don't care.
Yeah, used to when I first started teaching, I would hear a bad word or two each day, and now I'm hearing foul language every single classroom that I have. Literally, I have, about 6 a day, and I'm in there, and I hear bad words in the class, out in the hall, and I hear inappropriate things that they're talking about because they're exposed to so much. It's crazy to think, because I know me being a young, when you're young and you're curious, we didn't have the internet to explore our curiosities.
Yeah, we used to
And
play.
yeah, so it's very
Go
very
outside.
different. hmm I'm thankful I didn't have the stuff they have, because it's so corrupting and so fast. You watch them be corrupted. It happens just overnight
I
almost
have
with
to
these
tell you
children.
something. God, I just say, I think it's Mike. It's still reverbing, but it was happening when Josh was talking, so I think it's Mike. You just turn your speakers down just a little bit, Mike.
Okay. All right.
And my grandchildren are 4 and 2. They know how to work an iPad, an iPhone. They know how to get all the videos up.
Yeah, I know. My son was playing. He was on an iPad when he was 2. He could play Temple Run better than I can. He was just, and he couldn't even hardly, run or anything. But he can pull that iPad out and just start swiping away and knew exactly what to do.
Anyway, for people in the chat room, right? I'm sure most people do know who you are and everything, but explain to people in the chat room, like obviously, so you've got 2 channels. The one where I took the trailer from, that one, I was watching it and I was just thinking, watching one of your videos, how they're still going, NASA. I just don't understand. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's really crazy, the stuff I'm finding, and as I investigate, the more I investigate, the more fails you see through time, and they're really getting good at it. Mike Helmick was saying, there's going to be a day where we can't tell a difference, and they're getting pretty close. And when I look at some of their old footage, they had some good tricks back then too, like I believe it was Skylab that they had back in the 70s. After the Apollo missions, they were going there and they were doing these experiments, and you can see them in this big open room, and they're doing all these flips and different things. Skylab looks so much better to me than the ISS does now. So it's like, I wonder why we went from that beautiful, there's no wires hanging out everywhere, that really pristine environment, to wires everywhere, small space, everybody's cramped in, and there's all these green screen
You know
cells.
what I think that's about? I think that they thought that we would think that was high tech.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It just looks like a store cupboard gone wrong.
And I think the mass deception, when you want to deceive everybody, all you have to do is fool most people. And, and most people are, when we look into something, let's say that your friend tells you that NASA is lying or that space is fake, you're going to go, you know what, let me look on Google and see if this is really a fake, if NASA's fake. And the top, 20 Google searches are going to say, hey, NASA's not fake at all. And they're going to show you all these proofs that NASA's really doing what they're doing. So you control the information, so most people aren't going to dig as deep as people like us that are really wanting to get to the bottom of the issue, because not everybody has the interest to, they're really not that concerned with being deceived.
You don't have the stamina. You need stamina for this, don't you, Flutter?
Yeah, you got to get past the top 20 Google searches to figure this out.
Well, now it's over 100. I have a video I did back in the early days about the sun, and on that video, I did it as a live hangout, but I had it as I think private when I did it, so that I could just upload it straight to YouTube once I was done. And if I messed up, I could start over. And I did this video about the sun, and during that video, at the very end of it, I was showing how Google was biased towards the globe. And back then, when I scrolled down about 15 videos down, I came across one of my own videos and a couple other pretty good ones. And that was 11 months ago. And so now when you do it, it's not even 15. You can go down. I think I was counting. I got in the hundreds, and they're still there. They may look like a flat Earth video, but you click it, and it's not. It's something.
Do you know what
totally
they've
different.
done? I know what they've done. I just don't know how they've done it. I was an eBayer, right? And I was actually doing really well. And then what it was is about 6-8 months in, they suddenly said that they were changing the algorithm on the search engine. And honestly, it killed hundreds of shops. It just killed us overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they've done on YouTube. They've done the same sort of thing with this algorithm. So before, like, how can I put it? We could be picking up 2,000 a month, and then suddenly it was as if we'd been dropped off a cliff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was. It's very sad. I was responding to comments every morning when I got up. I would get on my computer, look at all the comments, send people like helpful links and messages and all of that. And I would get comments every minute, and super duper. It was like overload, but it was just enough to where I could get them done throughout the day if I paced myself to look at everyone and reply. And now I get a comment about every 4 hours, 4 to 2 hours. I get one comment, and everything just dropped as soon as they said they were censoring flat Earth and shadow banning accounts. That it's like it fell off of a cliff. And it was interesting. They did something to revenue as well for people who are like the truther channels that make a living doing it. I definitely don't make a living off of the channel that I'm doing, but I monetized probably in the summer just to see, because my thought process was, if YouTube can make money off of your videos, they will play them more often. And so if I could do something that would make them get played more often, that would be awesome. So I monetized, and sure enough, my suspicions were correct, and my video started getting a lot more views after I monetized. But I looked at the analytics for 2 months ago and compared them, the 1 month with the next, and I had 250,000 more views the second month, but made $500 less within that amount of time. So it's like, even though our views are going up, they're still doing things to like revenue and all that other stuff. So they're really coming after us in so many different ways, just trying to silence everybody. And I think SGT Report, if you've seen that channel, they have over 500,000 subscribers. And he recently talked about flat Earth on his channel. And I thought that was a very brave move, because he said, it's all being censored. Us truther channels are really getting shut down. And he talked about it. I don't know if you got a chance to see that one.
Yeah, I noticed that some of the channels, like, I don't know if it's going to stay or whether it's because they were changing their AI system, but like, so even bigger channels, their chat room had halved.
Mm-hmm.
They've done something. They've tried. I think what they've also done is they've undone everybody's bells. So say, for instance, people in the chat room here might say, have me, you, Mike Helmick, like we said, etc., Rich. And then what it is some other persons will bell, and you just forget about some of these other channels you're sub to, because you don't see the bells.
Yeah, they just go away.
People write to me quite a lot and say, oh, I missed the hangout again because my bell didn't alert me.
Yep. Yeah, we had that happening yesterday too, with a lot of people wanting to come on, like, oh, I didn't even get notified about this. Oh, I missed it. And I'm like, I hate that, because I've missed out on so many videos.
That's actually underhand. That's underhand stuff they're doing.
Yeah, come to think of it, my bell notification for you is actually not selected, and I actually have selected it before.
Yeah. And sometimes they unsub you, and I think they do that to a lot of people. They just how if say you've got thousands of people you're subbed to, how are you going to notice 5 or 10 channels that aren't there?
Yep.
Can I just say at Sue in the chat room, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for supporting the Sun and Moon family. We thank
you.
We had an entire day on my channel where there were 0 views a few weeks ago, an entire day. And I usually get about per day, tens of thousands of views. And it said I had 0 views one day. It was like back in January.
We've had a few hangouts where it was happening. One with Robert Forsch. Suddenly, he actually said to me, he said, if everything goes wrong, I'm sorry, it's because of me. Well, for the first hangout, we couldn't get going. It just wouldn't go live. And the second one, It took over an hour. I mean, they've actually taken the view thing off the Hangout. They've taken a few things off. They've changed things, but there was a view count on there. It's not there now, but on that Hangout, it took over an hour for anybody to turn up in the chat room. That's what it said as a figure. But there were people in the chat room. And then we were on one a few weeks ago when we were actually watching it, like the chat room were going like 50, 49, 47, 42, 40, and every time you click the page, the chat room went down, and yet there was a chat room all talking to each other. They didn't put those views back.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've had sometimes we have more likes than there are views.
It's like there's a train track, and you've got the side bit where they put the extra truck trailer, or what do you call it, carriages in, and on the side bit. It's like they've done that with us. They've put us in the side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we were talking about this kind of thing yesterday on our when Josh and I were doing our hangout, and I think it's a good sign that we are getting censored, and that somebody at the very top is trying to silence us. A lot of times you seem like what you're saying is not even going to get heard, and it's not going to matter. But the fact that the people at the very top are threatened by us, I think that's a good thing, because if you look at the biblical perspective, the Bible tells us that anyone who seeks godliness is going to face persecution. And that's what's happening with this flat earth movement, because it shows that there's a creator.
We're definitely persecuted.
Yeah. And I think that's a good sign, because if we're not being persecuted, we're not doing it right. We're not finding truth.
When I was at college, right, and I was doing hotel reception at college, we had to learn all these other systems which they never used anymore. But we still had to learn them and look at them, right? Even though they don't use them at all anymore. So why is there such a threat with models? Why can't there be those that believe it's concave, those that believe it's flat, those, obviously we're hoping that more are going to realize it is, but what's the threat?
Yeah, you would think it'd be harmless, but I think the real threat is what it does to people. It lets them realize that there is this creator, and if they come to this knowledge, and if the whole world was to wake up, we'd no longer be a slave to the system. We'd no longer be controllable.
I think it's to do with the free energy as well. That's another big. That's almost as big as Earth is the electric. That everything's electric, including us. If only people realise.
Oh yeah, and I really couldn't imagine what it would be like. I mean, I can try. If we all knew our entire lives, and even past generations understood how much land was out there, and where the firmament meets the earth, where the end of the earth is, where you can literally go up and see the firmament and study it like they did back in the 50s, where you have those documents where they studied it. Like, if we could go up close and personal, how big of a place would that be to go? Like, everybody would want to go there, and like we do now, and there's limits, and there's that Antarctic treaty that doesn't expire until like the 2040s or 2050s. I can't remember the expiration date.
I hope I'm alive when that happens.
I know. I'm thinking, like, what's going to happen? Because they know what they're going to do. So there has to be some reason why it expires at that time. And so that's what's really confusing to me, is why would they set it for that random date way back then, so that they could keep it contained and study the snow and the penguins and all that for so many years peacefully, even with all the turmoil and wars, and all these world leaders are selfish, except for with that one place on earth. They're not selfish. And it's like, it just happens to be our boundary that keeps us from exploring and seeing the firmament.
Yeah. And to me, what's fascinating, I was really drawn to Antarctica for a long time when I first found, kind of stumbled across this, was the fact that it is off limits to travel. You can't just go across Antarctica. And ancient maps show all these land masses beyond Antarctica. What if there was something beyond it? When Admiral Byrd, and he was, one of the most popular explorers, he said there was a continent the size of the U.S. beyond the South Pole. So there's this continent he's describing.
He was telling the truth, though. Do you think that he wasn't part of this lie, and that he wasn't south and he was north? We don't know, do we? We've been lied to so badly.
Yeah, and that's what kind of threw me about this whole thing, was that he came out on record, on television in front of everyone, and said there's a landmass, but it does. If that had, why didn't that show up on maps? Why he discovered, he was the first one to go there and see these things supposedly. Why weren't we updating our maps to show this landmass below Antarctica? Why is it? And then they started sending soldiers, thousands of soldiers to Antarctica. What were they afraid of? What did they see? And what have they been doing there for all these decades since? All these countries are over there. What are they? Are they making something? What's going on? They're not just studying penguins. I don't think that's the case at all.
I have a Bible verse here from the 4th book of Ezra. We have the Sefer has all the lost books, and we were reading something, and I always wondered how much land is out there. And you know how they say we're like 25% land and 70%, 75% water. The earth, it's the blue marble. It's so blue and all this water. Well, the wisdom they give us is usually backwards or twisted. But I was reading a verse, and it says that the earth is 7 parts land and only 1 part water. So it's like 1/7 of the earth is actually water. So like that would mean there is a lot of land out there, because it was talking about creation. It said, upon the 3rd day, you did command that the water should be gathered in the 7th part of the earth. 6 parts have you dried up and kept them to the intent that some of those being planted of Elohim and filled might serve you. And upon the 5th day, you said unto the 7th part where the waters were gathered. So that's the 7th part where the waters were gathered, like the oceans and stuff, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls, fish. And so it came to pass. And so it's talking about those parts of the earth. If it's broken into 7 parts, one of those parts is water. And that would be like the ocean.
Sense, wouldn't it? Because they've told us it's water and everything is the other way around. So that would make sense it was land.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. And you look at those old maps. My wife, I really want to get her doing a video with me on this, because you would like this too. That really old map. I believe it's it's before the heliocentric model era. I think it might be around that time. But this explorer had it, and Rob Skiba did a video on it, and it's this really huge map that this guy made. It's like a flat Earth map. It's gigantic, and he wrote along the sides in a different language his discoveries and things that he saw. And it's a very accurate map of the earth for its time. To try to imagine how he was able to construct that is crazy, with just exploring and using his compass and making notes. And it looks pretty close, but the land around us and around Antarctica is green. It's not like covered in snow like we are told everything is. But my wife was translating that stuff into English, and it was some freaky stuff that he talked about. A lot of the things with devil worshiping and people worshiping devil spirits and things was going on, and this guy was encountering those things and reporting back and writing these things down. So it's like a little journal of what the world was like to somebody who was allowed to explore beyond what we are now, without borders, without having to have a passport and everything like that.
Yeah. Do you see that everything's getting tighter and uglier, or I'm not sure myself now. It's called rejecting the globe life, really.
Mm-hmm.
My life isn't getting better; it's getting worse in the globe life. I think because I'm rejecting it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you find the same or not? You just carry on. It's not happening for you.
It just, when you kind of stop being a part of the world, it seems like you're under attack more, and there's more. It's hard to watch everyone not experience life the way that they were intended to, and to not know the powers they have access to and all that. It's really
what's I think another thing is too, there's so many things that we used to enjoy, like the Star Trek movies or Star Wars, these things that we thought were real. And once you're awakened to it, you're like, well, I really have a hard time enjoying these movies, that that I once liked. And you see all these people.
You can't watch that. You can't. Actually, the television doesn't mean the same to me.
Yeah.
It's all just. I mean, I have never thought about it. I mean, as especially as it's on the television. We've had this guy called Jeremy Kyle for years, and what he is he's like he's sort of a bit like Jerry Springer, but he's not quite so OTT as Jerry Springer. But the same thing, relationships breaking down and all that. I suddenly thought to myself, oh my goodness, when we were looking into this is all part of the system, isn't it? So the news is horrible. We've got soap operas, everybody's cheating on each other and all that.
Yes.
Killing each other. Then you've got things like Jerry Springer and Jeremy Kyle, and all they're promoting is that nobody gets on, nobody likes each other, no one cares, and Josh, nobody loves each other.
Yep.
Have you guys seen The Matrix, the series? I never really watched it, but I saw glimpses and bits and pieces of it where he wakes up to this idea that the reality he's living has been a lie, and nobody else wants to wake up from that. I think there's, it's kind of when you wake up to the flat earth, you start to realize that there are flaws in our system and that we're being deceived. And I was doing a teaching on the Old Testament on my channel a few months back, and something brought me into their, the rituals of the Old Testament, and they worship this god called Baal. And these people were sacrificing their children. And I know that's like, it's unimaginable to us, right? For people to do that. And I don't know how you kind of go down different rabbit holes when you're looking into stuff. But I started finding out that this stuff is going on today, and it's going on in Hollywood, and it's going on, in the politics and the government. These people that were doing this back then were the higher ups in society, the ruling class. And you start figuring out that all these famous people that you really loved, and these actors and these actresses, they're all, very, very many of them are a part of this system that is very satanic, very demonic, and very controlled. And once you start to see that, it just becomes more and more prevalent.
Most people don't realize what it all is, and we're all going, yes, I'll buy that, I'll have that, I'll do that, not realizing, never realizing what it really is all about.
Yeah. And they just recently passed a bill here in the U.S. where a baby can be born and still alive, and the doctor doesn't have to save it. If the parents were trying to abort this baby and it was born alive, they let it die. They just passed a bill that allows that to happen, that you can just let this child, who's a living, breathing human being, die. And it's like, how did we get to this place? Well, it has a lot to do with those people in the ruling class who are a part of those rituals where they do these types of things, and it's normal practice to them. I think we have a hard time understanding that.
If society is like that, then it's just breeding more. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, isn't it? It's to make sure that we all don't like each other, we all hate each other, we all can't get on with each other, we don't love each other. Then there's the bills, life, the rest of it. It's just a robot.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's nice to be talking to two people who think. Who think.
Yeah, I want to show you something, Karen. Is it if I can find it real quick on my.
Yeah, I'll just put it on when you go to do it. I'll just put it in your brother to make sure. Well, we've lost Patricia, haven't we? She went a little while ago.
I could see a microphone on her screen with a line through it, as if her sound was off. I don't know if she was having trouble getting that going.
I think she had a problem because she came on a few times and didn't say anything. Yeah, when Josh is ready.
Okay, let me go. I can do screen share. Is that what? I just go to the little green icon.
Put it on your brother to make sure. Yeah, screen share and do. Don't do entire screen. Do the other one.
Application window.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Boop. And then here. Okay. There you go. It's something I'd shared last night. Let me see if when I present, you can see. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the things we were looking at last night in our live hangout was the first pictures of Earth from 1972. And someone sent this meme. Have you seen that yet?
No.
That said, on this cartoon world, it's dark in Tokyo, Moscow, London, New York, Los Angeles, Honolulu, and Sydney, all at the same time. And I thought that I would pull up that daylight map of Earth to kind of see where it's daylight, because we can obviously figure that out. We can call somebody and say, hey, look, is it daylight over there? We don't need this, picture to tell us, but they have it mapped out where it's daylight at on the Earth. And when you compare it, none of this stuff actually adds up. The amount of daylight we have on the picture on the left looks nothing like what we should see. And so I kind of pasted that picture over it, tried to scale it to make it the right size.
There could be all sorts of shadowing going on. And if we were spinning, it would just be the most ridiculous thing to watch. Everything would be whizzing around you. It'd be ridiculous.
Yeah. And that to me just reaffirms that we really don't have any real pictures of Earth. Because I was looking at when you tell people that, they go, well, 1972, they didn't have Photoshop. They couldn't have faked it. But they really did a good job. And you can see pictures from skydivers when they look down, the Earth turns into a ball because of their camera lens. So they have ways of doing stuff like that with just photos. I don't know if they could have gotten high enough to take this picture with a fisheye lens. So I don't know how they pieced this together, just really good artistic skills. is what it looks like. But I mean, it's impressive. They did take some high altitude pictures from their windows of whatever they were in to make it look like Earth, and that's why the entire Earth is like covered with clouds during the Apollo missions when they went to the moon and were showing us the Earth from space. But I thought that was a pretty fast and easy way to go, okay, that's fake. Because when you try to debunk it and go, no, surely not, you can't. There's no way to debunk this because, you know, there's so much of the Earth that would be in darkness. New York would definitely be in the dark. It would not be seen because you see how far away it is from South America. It's just way over here. It would all be on the other side of the ball. Earth is just, there's just no way that all this stuff is in the dark. So to me, that was pretty cool. But there was another one. What was it? I want to show the space news from Israel. We were talking about the moon missions earlier, but look at that. This is the newest version of the lunar module. And we were talking about the ISS and how many wires they have. I don't know if you guys have seen this news. I came across this the other day. This is it. And this is going to survive.
They obviously think that the wires are cool.
Yeah.
And you watch the film Gravity, and everything's slick and smooth and chic in that film about space. So
yeah.
Why would that? Look at it. You would not have it like that, would you? Oh my goodness.
No, and I mean, you just think about this thing falling. It's about, I don't know, 3.5 feet, 4 feet off the ground, maybe 3 feet, because it's about to this guy's little torso. It couldn't land from that high. From that high, if that thing fell, these wires would all come unattached. Everything would stop working. I know they're in the final phases of wrapping it with aluminum foil because they said it needs to be really lightweight and compact. And you have this guy over here talking about it, and everyone in the room has a hairnet as if one of their hairs is going to throw this off. You know, like if a hair were to land on this foil, it would just totally mess up aerodynamics. Yeah. And so, and even these little blasters look like they're made out of plastic. It's just so sad that we've come so far, and yet when they're faking space, this is what we get. You know, it's nothing like we would expect, and it's very pitiful looking. I guess they think that we'll see all those wires and go, man, some geniuses made this.
They would have made it a better shape than that.
Yeah, and you know what they're sending with this thing to the moon? With all this money going into it, what they're sending is a disc. A golden disc with information about Israel and their flag and drawings that kids have made. Like, it's about their culture. So that's what they're sending. And it's a type of disc that I don't know anyone who has the ability to play it in the first place. And he says, hopefully, you know, 500 years from now or a million years, somebody goes there, they can play that disc and see what we were like. Well, they would have to know what kind of disc was going to be there before they left and actually have a device to play it. And we don't even have the technology to play the discs, or the reels of tape, they say, from the moon missions. And that was 50 years ago. So it's like, to think that someone's going to do that, it's incredible. And now they're saying that the Earth or the moon's within Earth's atmosphere. So like, what were they doing when yeah. Somebody sent a meme on Facebook. I'm telling you, memes are really destroying the globe. These memes are going to outlaw memes pretty soon. But it showed somebody when they enter the Earth's atmosphere and their little landing. What do you call those things that they're in when they're coming to land? Those little pods, and they're going through the atmosphere and they're flaming and they're catching on fire. And it says they burn up when they're entering Earth's atmosphere. And the meme said, "Oh, wait a minute. This never happened. We were always in the Earth's atmosphere. We never left it." So it's like, you never left the Earth's atmosphere. How can you burn up upon re-entry if you never left something? So I thought that was funny that they shared that little meme there. But just some funny things. And the lunar module, again, on the left here, that is one of 3 crafts that's landed on the moon from America. We were one of the people that put this thing on there. And it's as thick as 3 sheets of aluminum foil. That's how thick it was. That's what the experts tell us. 3 sheets of aluminum foil. They had to be careful not to poke their fingers through it. And if you were to put this in a vacuum chamber, anything with that thickness would implode. I mean, or explode. Just boom. It would, as soon as you put it in a vacuum chamber, it would explode almost instantly. I mean, it doesn't even look rain proof. It looks like if it got rained on, the people inside would get wet. So it's comical to me that that people are just now thinking about these things, and we're talking about them, and it's hilarious. And nobody really seems to kind of bat an eye when they do stuff like this. So I just thought that was funny. I didn't know if if you guys had seen some of that latest space news. I know a lot of people are talking about the moon and the atmosphere of Earth, but if that news was coming from me and I put it out there in a scientific article, it would be like dumb flat earther. That would be they would take control of that. Dumb flat earther says the moon is within Earth's atmosphere, and everybody would laugh, But these people say it from NASA.
Yeah, and guess what? No one's saying anything. I find this is the thing that happens most of all, isn't it? So we've got your kind of video showing the truth. No one says anything.
Yep.
No one's saying anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
no
we were talking
station, no politics, man.
Yeah.
Nobody said nothing.
Yep. You would think it doesn't exist if you were just an outsider. You'd think none of these discoveries that we're making and things that we're pointing out that are scientific even matter, or even are going on or discussion, because it's all scientific, My belief in God is something that was proven to me through miracles and experience. And my belief in the stationary Earth, He led me there. But the beliefs that I have are scientific. They're scientifically provable. That's the cool thing about it. You can prove what you believe with the scientific method, and doing real research and real experiments and taking a deeper look, because just our simple observations with our eyes and looking at things, I could go, now there's a chance this is a round ball spinning. There's a chance if I just look at it and go, okay, that's what somebody told me. But when you really take a deeper look, and that's what it takes, that's why it's hard to get people to look into it, because of those simple observations. Well, the sun went down, the moon's round, the sun is round, so it's very easy to just go, everything's round, we're good. We're round as well. So it's such an innocent, seemingly innocent lie that we've all believed forever. I don't remember not believing in it, really. When you think back to it, when do we ever just not believe that Earth was round? And my earliest memories is just somebody told me it was, and I believed them. I saw a picture, that one that we just looked at from 1972 over here. Where's it at? I saw that and went, yep, there's Earth. It's round. That's all it took. There's so many pictures of Santa Claus. There's no way they're all fake. That's another way to look at it. There's no way every picture of Santa Claus I've seen is fake. And that's kind of how people address this. There's no way that every picture of the Earth is fake, but they are, and it's easily provable, especially if you hold them up to this type of test. You can take every picture of Earth, put them to this method, and you'll see every single one of them's fake. So that's not even an argument. And no one that's in this debate has been high enough to see the entire Earth. That's why this is going on.
You know something? Think about it this way. If you actually do a flat smack say, and you say to someone flat Earth, and then say, but it's going to take you at least 3 years to understand half of it.
Yeah.
Might half, mightn't it?
Yeah. And we don't even have all the answers. People get really mad. Give me a working model, and they get really upset. And I understand it's like, okay, there is no working model of Earth. There's not one. It's way too complex. We're figuring out a small part from where we stand on Earth. We're so tiny. Like, we can't see the entire Earth unless we have an animation. That's it. That's the only way we can see it, is if we have an animation or a model. And that's what we've been given our whole lives, animations and models. And that's how we see it. And a lot of it works out mathematically with a globe, but it's just you've taken what, most of the accurate maps of Earth and just wrapped it around a ball. And if the sun is circling above us, it's going to match almost exactly, minus what they have here with the daylight hours and stuff, is going to match a globe. But you can't match it up completely. That's why there's holes in the globe model, is because that's not reality. What we see here, the amount of daylight, that's reality, but it only matches with a stationary Earth. We don't have that exact model yet. We kind of know a map of the Earth and how it works, but we don't have all the land beyond. When we see stars go over our horizon, they're going really far away. We can't go that far. I'm sure they have bases set up where they can observe the stars way out beyond where we could see and travel, so they can predict things a lot better than we can and see things coming and going that we don't even see. They can see a comet, which is just a light shining into the waters above. They can see those way before we can, and they know their patterns. They've studied them since, heck, not long after creation. The
thing is, we just need to go to that stupid thing with the wires on. We can work out most things from where we are right here.
Yep. Yeah.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes back. There's the article about the atmosphere extending beyond the moon, but
I told someone, one of the people, someone I work for, and they laughed. They went going, and I was thinking, you're laughing, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people just don't realise. I just think
Yeah.
they're so oblivious to it all. They
Yeah.
really are. You wake up or you don't.
Yeah, we were talking about that this morning, my wife and I, and her mom. Her mom's a truther too now, which is really cool. We all stay together. We're in the process of building a house, so we all stay together, and it's been a real good opportunity to like fellowship and just people of different age groups are waking up. It's really cool, and I think she's in like her mid 60s, but she's like a truther now. And so my wife and her and me and like even my sons, like it's so cool to see them wake up and ask questions and look into things. And she'll come in and just be like, wow, look what I just found out. We start sharing stuff, but we talk about these things, and there's a lot of things, especially in the Bible and in the lost books, that are coming true. And you were saying people laugh at you, and that's one of those things that those Illuminati play cards that everybody used to look at, 10 years ago or so, or 8 years ago, and everybody was looking into that Illuminati stuff, and everything was about them and their plan and 9/11. And it seems like things sort of shifted when we came into this. But those cards, when they said people are going to laugh, but the flat earthers know something, that really hit it spot on, because we don't know everything. We know something. We know that it's not a ball. We know that Earth is stationary. We don't have all the answers, and people are going to laugh.
They're close. They're
Yeah,
close.
and provably so. And I believe that's why back in the day,
finds its level.
yeah, everything adds up when you start finding the truth. But that's why a long time ago the Word told us not to make for yourselves carved images of any kind, or of representation of anything in heaven above, on the earth beneath, or in the water below the shoreline. And here we go, getting our little bitty children to make these little models of Earth and the heavens and the solar systems and things beyond. And where does this put when the Messiah comes back? Which way is he coming from?
By the way, Josh, a few weeks ago, her name is Marianne. She was doing astrology, and basically when they did that bit about the planets like that you're looking at, it was never about the distances. It was done totally different in astrology, and now they've made it look like these are the distances.
Yeah.
But anybody with a P900 knows that the things aren't working up there like they say they are. Like, I thought Venus was supposed to be that planet there, and none of it matches up when they're watching the stars. But it was that picture there you've got, the left one more. Those kind of pictures weren't done for the distances.
No.
That map was about astrology.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. And we knew the order of these planets when we were, heck, I think I was 5 years old, and I can sing the order of the planets. Mercury, Venus, Earth. It was just like, we just knew it. I mean, it was like we'd be happy about it too. And I was so happy that I knew the order. I knew their names. It was like, that was before I could even read. I knew the order of the planets. I thought that was funny that we know these type of things. And there's so many biblical events that we never pictured from a globe model. We just pictured it, like, oh, there's a flood, the mountain pops up. We never pictured the windows of heaven opening up and spraying a globe with fountains of water, flooding the whole ball. Then you have a ball that's just a ball of water.
What's really crazy is it's flat, and they've made everybody believe we're a spinning ball.
Yeah.
Round. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So the Earth definitely not floating in space. It was founded upon the water. And from the hidden recesses of the mountains come beautiful waters. I thought that was really cool. That was from Enoch, from the creations of the world and forever. Yeah. So a lot of water.
I wasn't that keen on Enoch, but now I've seen them appear outside my house, just like Enoch says. Yeah, spot on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen a lot of things in there, and I try to read that stuff without going, it's true. I try to read it and go, let the Holy Spirit kind of, show you what's true and what's not, and let that guide you. And looking at a lot of the things in the Bible, and a lot of it matches up. And then there's the prophecy about the planets. To me, that was what was really cool when I looked into the prophecy of the heliocentric model. I think I might have shared that with y'all before, about what it says about these chief stars. It calls them the chief stars, the planets that we know today as planets. And it said there would come a generation, there's going to be a time coming when the chief stars leave their orbital paths. And they use the word orbital, and they use a lot of the words that we use in science today, but they said they'll leave their orbital paths. And that's the only time I'd seen that word in any of the books of the Bible. And it said there's a generation that will take them, or that will lose their understanding of the stars and how they work, and will take these chief stars, the planets, to be gods. And then every single one of these is named after a god except Earth. Earth is the only one that's not named after a god. I thought that was mind blowing. I read that back when I first started my channel, and I didn't read it. I was listening to it on audio, about to go to sleep, and I heard that, and I sat up and I said, I've got to write this down. So I got up and wrote that down and made a video about it. I think it might have been like the second video I made on this channel.
They don't realize it's all, like for most of us, it's still a bit of a shock, isn't it? Because it's not just, oh, we're flat. You start looking and it leads you to years of being like a scholar.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever the sun goes down, I get up, if it's dark and it's a really starry night, I just start staring. I get out of my car and I'm just staring at the sky. And my wife's like, "What are you looking at?" And it's like, it's all new and it's all different.
Yeah, no, I'm always like, I do look at my phone, so I am a bit, one of those, but more than likely as well, I'm looking up. Most people, like I said, I wore my t-shirt today, everybody, that my kids got me for Christmas, NASA Live. And I didn't see one person look at the logo.
Wow, they just see so many NASA shirts. I don't know if it's the same over there. I mean,
they're selling them everywhere here.
Yeah, probably every 2 out of every 30 kids has a NASA shirt or sweatshirt or hoodie on, and they've put them in all of our stores, and they've lowered the prices on them to where most people can afford them, and they look really stylish. They've made some stylish versions of these NASA shirts, and kids are wearing them. And I always want to go up with a Sharpie and put the word lies underneath the logo, and just run away. But it's just funny that they're all at the same time, with the damage control and the behind the curve, if that's the name of that documentary, comes out. It's really genius the way the enemy does things. Sometimes you have to realize that's pretty smart to make it look like we debunked ourselves and then promote it on one of the places. It's like the only places people go. They can't go to a movie store. We all have Netflix. And so everybody's going to watch Netflix, and, oh yeah, that's dumb. Look, they just debunked themselves. And when in reality, it's just a couple of now, I don't think all of the people in the documentary were shills from our side. There's a couple that I think, but I feel like it would be really sad to be one of those guys. Their whole life, their whole life for the past few years has been devoted to pretty much teaching about the flat earth and the fake space and all that. And then you're in a documentary where it's kind of exposed that you're a sellout and everybody's mad at you in the community. So it's got to be tough from their aspect for a couple of them, especially Bob from, was it Globebusters, his channel? I feel like there's got to be a lot of sadness there. And how do you come back from that? They kind of sold out like Judas and were a part of something worldly that they pretty much knew was not going to make us look good. You can't think a mainstream documentary is going to make us look good. And so they twisted everything and definitely made it look like we debunked ourselves when in reality we didn't. With styrofoam and flashlights.
Video editing too. They could have really taken what didn't debunk the earth and tried to, cut what these people were saying and only give you certain parts and stop it, here and there. But I find it fascinating that documents are being released. And I don't know, Karen, I don't know if you've heard about the documents released by the CIA. They have these declassified documents. And they were from Russia and they were from the 50s, and they were studying the firmament in 1955. I believe that was the year it was. These documents came out, and you would miss them if you weren't really paying close attention to what they were saying. But they said, and it was you could tell it was something like a scholarly study. They were doing some scientific study, but it said they were testing the brightness of the firmament, and they were using this certain technologies to test it. And I thought it, interesting that in 1955, Russia, the Soviet Union, they were studying a firmament that we supposedly knew wasn't real.
Yeah, I must admit, we on this channel did some research, and all the NASA documents. If you put the word flat Earth in it, it's all over the documents.
Yeah, they use that type of science.
Can I just add one little thing, Josh, back to the film you were just talking about? I'm in that one as well. I'm on it.
Oh, you're in that. I didn't watch the whole film. You really were?
I did watch quite a lot of it, to be honest, but I must have flipped through a bit of it because, sometimes a bit precious, but I wanted to see some of it. And then my son rang me up and he said, "Mum, you're on Netflix. I said, really? And he showed me, you know, where it was and that, and where, you know, the whole thing out. It was 10 minutes, just after 10 minutes. And what it is there's a group of people going, hi, it's Mark Sargent. And I'm the first one that does it.
Oh, wow. Was it from one of your videos? Excuse me.
Hangout from 2017.
Wow.
And Mark said he had no control on the editing, that they picked that. And I was thinking, wow.
Yeah, that is so cool. So they put a segment from one of your videos on a Hangout into their documentary.
Yeah, I was going like, good evening, it's Mark Sargent.
Wow, that is so cool. I skipped to the very end of the video. It was kind of cringeworthy. I started watching the first part, and it just seemed weird. I was watching Mark interact with his mom, and it seemed staged, like she was acting and like she really didn't know him when he was a kid. She was like, this is your favorite food, and he's like, no, it wasn't. And I'm going like, it just didn't seem natural. I was like, man, is this really his mom or what? And I ended up just trying to find the experiment they did at the very end, and it was literally like the last few minutes of the video. They had styrofoam, they cut holes in it, and they showed an animation of it. And then they said, well, if it's flat, you'll be able to see the flashlight through the hole, and it's dark outside, so you really can't see what they're doing or how well it's set up. All you can see is them with these cheap Walmart flashlights cutting holes in styrofoam and shining lights through these holes. And then you hear them go, oh, that's interesting. And then they end the documentary right when they didn't see the light. They didn't, and I think they said they were like 17 miles apart or something like that. And if you've ever dealt with moisture and refraction, you can take a glass of water, put it on your table, a clear glass of water, and put a light like 2 or 3 inches above the table, get down at eye level and move the light away from your body. And when you're looking through the water at the light, it will go down just like a sunset. It'll go straight down and vanish. And so I think lights, especially a cheap flashlight, not a laser, over that amount of space, you wouldn't be able to see it anyways due to the refraction. But that's like, wow. If the flat earth was that easy to debunk, none of us would be here right now. If we could just go out with flashlights and styrofoam, we would not be here having this conversation.
Well, what happens is we can debunk the globe. So that's what it is, isn't it? That's why we're here.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely some damage control. And I think that's cool that you're in there. That's I'm gonna have to go watch that. And but yeah, I just knew going into it, I was like, I don't know if I could watch this whole documentary all the way through. And one of the guys that was a part of it said, the very end was modified.
It's partly because the Geographic did it, isn't it? Really, as well, because that they're going to be a bit biased and they're not going to be unbiased.
Yeah, for real. And I don't know, just there's just so much. There was so much to it that it's like the other people that are against us, man, they're just all over it. Like, oh yeah, there was a gyroscope scene, and I haven't seen that yet. That it proves the Earth is moving. I'm like, you could put a gyroscope in an airplane, and it's not going to change. But yet on an Earth that's supposedly we can't ever detect its movements with anything, the gyroscope would be, unless it was right on the North Pole. I mean, even then, like there's no place on Earth, because it should be moving with the Earth and the gravity and the magic atmosphere, that it shouldn't be able to detect any movement either, because nothing else detects it. So like, I don't understand how a gyroscope would prove Earth is moving. There could be some magnetism, or there could be something going on with the way the firmament moves. I mean, I just don't see how, if everything's moving like they say in one piece, that would affect the gyroscope at all, because the gyroscope's already moving with the Earth from their point of view. So I don't know. I didn't see that part, and I don't know what type of gyroscope they used. Definitely want to see that and try to see if they could replicate that in any way that actually does prove Earth is moving, because that'd be interesting. Hey, somebody in the comments said the FE Brothers channel does not exist.
We're still looking at your picture on the screen. Summer to winter.
Our channel.
I mean, you make brilliant videos anyway, don't you?
What's that?
You and Mike make brilliant videos anyway.
Yeah, we're definitely inspired when we try to put together videos. It's always, I sometimes in the early days used to get carried away with what I wanted to put out there, and you kind of have to stop and be like, what needs to be out there? What is the Father wanting to show people, and what's going to wake people up and send them his direction? Because that's why I really wanted people to come here in the first place. And that was one of my prayers, was like, you're showing me all these things, send people this way. you know, if I'm sharing things that you're showing me, please send them this way so they can see it too. And it seems like a flood of people came in just before, you know, luckily it happened before the big censorship issue. So, I mean, the next thing, the only thing they can do now, is we already have those subscribers. It's just they've not recommended any videos, and a lot of times their notifications are turned off. But now we can actually start doing more of what you're doing, have fellowship with the ones that are already there, and just deal with what we have and be thankful that they're here, because it's a lot greater, you know, than me going somewhere and speaking to 30 people. If it's a couple thousand, that's pretty good. You know, that's more than 30 or 40 people we could speak to in person. Not that we should avoid speaking in person. I want to try to do that as well and get out of our comfort zone altogether, kind of take the show on the road and talk about creation and all the other stuff, because it gets so deep. There's so many lies that the shape of earth is just a small lie amongst a sea of just lies about who we are, who God is, who the sun is, all these different things. It's just, there's a whole sea of lies. So it's good to kind of go both directions. And that's why we have 2 channels, and my brother has his, is to definitely expose a lot of the lies that are hidden.
Can I just say that for some reason, I don't know why, because I put it in because I took it straight off your channel, but Marilyn says that the link's not working to your channel. So would you put a link in the chat room? Can you do that?
Yeah, let me find.
And, to say, where is it?
Let me see. Let me
Grizzly Flat. Thank you so much.
Let me see here. Let me go to my channel and see if I can find the link to it.
Are you getting to the stage where you feel like you want something else to happen now?
Yeah, I feel like with the way things have gone with censorship, we have to adapt. We have to definitely change the way we're doing things, and people are working together. And it's frustrating. It's getting to a lot of people that their way of life and everything is just changing, that they can't just put out videos and have everybody see them. And so it's definitely making me take a step back and go, wow, there's so much more. Maybe we really need to really unite in a different way.
I mean, obviously you 2 are clever bods, both of you. You are with your maths and chemistry, because you've got different kind of minds to most of us. But we woke up, didn't we? So why aren't the others waking up?
Yeah, and it's amazing, because it's a spiritual awakening. It's really a spiritual thing, and it's something that
I just say, Josh, you showed the link. We probably have to finish because you showed the link. Because we don't want anybody. Yeah, I have to end the broadcast. Sorry, because you showed the link.
Oh, that was to my channel.
No, you showed the hangout underneath. Everybody, I'll just talk to Josh and Mike when we go off, but I think we have to go off because that's how the trolls get in. Anyway, sorry about that. Be back shortly.